We organise things so that we can quickly access the things that must not get lost. Organising things is an investment in time and effort for future savings of both. My top tip for organising is to keep it simple and improve it incrementally, week by week, day by day. So in this video, I want to look at the part that organising plays in personal productivity. The first thing to recognise when organising is that when something comes your way, you have three choices. You need to call Pat. Pat reminds us that your first choice is to pass it on to somebody else who is better placed to deal with it. The second is to act on it yourself, because it's something that you need to do. And the third option is to throw it away, to file it in the round filing cabinet in a corner of the room. Organising your workload in this way gets you off to the right start. But what happens if you haven't passed it on, if you haven't thrown it away, you've acted on it? When you've finished acting on it, you can decide whether the paperwork that goes with it or the folders and files that you've got on your computer need to be organised for future reference. Always do your filing for current projects as soon as possible, as soon as you've finished with the papers that you're using. That way you can access them quickly and effectively as soon as you next need them. All other filing can be most economically done in batches, perhaps at the end of the week, or perhaps at the end of the month, or perhaps just when you get a few minutes of spare time, or your desk is starting to get cluttered. My tip is to create a filing tray to be filed. Whether it's a physical tray on your desk or the corner of your office, or somewhere like that, or whether it's a folder on your computer or in your email inbox. Periodically, go to that to be filed tray and sort it out. But at least you'll know if you can't find something, chances are it's still in that to be filed tray. And increasingly on your computer, you can rely on search functions on the computer to help you find things. So, whilst I don't think we're quite there yet, it won't be that long, I suspect, before we don't need to do filing. We can just chuck every document into a folder and expect that with the right search can find things. Except with the right search. The trouble is that at the moment, computer search is nowhere near as good as, for example, online search engines. If you put in the keyword, you'll throw up every document on your computer with that keyword, and that could be hundreds. So, for the moment, and probably for the next few years at least, taking time to file stuff on your computer in your email program is going to be a worthwhile investment of your time. One of the best tools for those of us who like to be organised is the Japanese 5S system. And it's called the 5S system because it has 5 components and they all begin with the S sound in Japanese. Now, I'm not going to try and pronounce the Japanese words. Fortunately, all of those words translate conveniently into words in the English language which also begin with S. And there are variants, but these are the ones that I'm going to choose to describe the 5 S's. First, there's sort. Sort the things that you use so that the things you use most frequently are nearest to you and the things you use least frequently are further away. Keep the things you need for everyday use in or next to your desk. Keep the things you might need only once a month a little further away in a filing cabinet, and the things you may only need once a year or maybe never, put them into some form of archiving system. Second is systematize. Everything that you sort needs to have a place, and there should be a place for everything. Think about a logical place so that you know where to go. And one of my favourite techniques is the idea of a shadow board. Certainly in a workshop context where there are lots of tools, each tool has a specific place, usually hung on a wall, with a shadow of that tool behind it. That means that when you finish with the tool, you know exactly where to put it, and if you look at the shadow board and there's a tool missing, you'll immediately know that you need to look for that tool to replace it. If you're one of those people who habitually loses things, then the idea of systematize is going to revolutionize your life. Because if you get into the habit of always putting the things that you lose in their specific place, then there's a good chance when you want it, you'll know where it is. Next is sweep. Keep your workplace clean, tidy, and clutter-free. That way you'll be able to focus on the work at hand and enjoy being in your workspace. Fourth is standardize. Standardize the processes, the procedures, the ways that you do things. Make good use of checklists. This is about building habits and routines. If you do this, then the standard things that you have to do every day or every week or frequently in some way, they become easy to do. You won't miss a beat, you'll be able to get them done without having to think carefully about what to do. You'll be able to turn your attention to the other things that are more complex, more demanding, and more unusual. And finally, sustain. Make these good practices into a habit, and once they become your habit, then look for ways to continually improve the way that you handle things so that your work life gets better, more effective, more efficient, and more productive. In thinking about organisation, the third thing I want to talk about is checklists. They use checklists in hospitals. They use them in accident and emergency. They use them in operating theatres. They use checklists on aircraft and in the military to make sure nothing gets missed, to make sure mistakes don't happen, to make sure you can move from the start to the end quickly and efficiently. Checklists prevent errors, and checklists save lives. And if checklists can work for doctors and pilots and military personnel, then they can work for you too. It may not be your job to save lives. There may be no lives at stake if you make mistakes. But there is efficiency, there is effectiveness, and there is productivity at stake. Checklists save time. You don't have to think about what to do next. You don't have to figure out the process. It's there, it's ready, it's written down for you. Checklists avoid pointless repetition. Do it once and it's done. It's written down to remind you to do it, and when you've done it, you can tick it off so that you know you don't have to do it again. Checklists prevent mistakes and missed steps. You've ticked something off. What's next on the checklist? Do that next. Don't skip. If you're under pressure and you're trying to figure it out for yourself, then it's very easy to forget important things. And it's even easier to forget trivial things that may, sooner or later, turn out to really matter. And finally, checklists reduce stress and procrastination. It's far easier to do something when you know that all you have to do is the next step. And when you've done the next step, you don't have to worry about what to do. It's on your checklist. You'll find it much easier to knuckle down and do difficult, complex things that you don't really want to do when you've got a checklist. And when you're feeling stressed and your brain isn't thinking clearly, don't worry, your checklist will tell you what to do and you won't make a mistake. So, create checklists to guide you through the important tasks that you have to do and the repetitive tasks that you do time and time again until they become automatic. So, for effective working, be organised. Do your filing so you can find things. Keep your workplace tidy and well organised with the 5S approach. And make sure that you don't miss a step or duplicate a step, get stressed by what to do next with checklists. Please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. There's loads more great management courses content to come, so please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of it. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and in the meantime, keep learning.